Pharm So Hard, the employees wanna find me, and then wanna hire me. What's 100K to a guy like me? Could you please remind me? Pharm So Hard, this ain't easy. Working late nights, you best believe me. My grades can only go A's. Never wanna see another B unless I'm Jay-Z. Pharm So Hard, let's get paid.
Jimmy Pruitt, aka PharmD to ED, and I'm bringing you another episode of the Pharm So Hard Podcast. This is going to be our first episode of the year. So many phenomenal things have happened in 2023. But as we move forward into 2024, I'm super excited with all the things we're getting ready to do. And I have some phenomenal people who are going to change what 2024 looks like for you, especially if you are an ED pharmacist or if you just like ED pharmacotherapy. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the story of EMPower, the Emergency Medicine Pharmacotherapy Resuscitation Conference. This is going to be about our chairs. This is going to be about their experiences, about their kind of approach to all of this and how they're building what emergency medicine pharmacy looks like. And I'm not going to do a whole lot this episode talking, just asking a few questions because, again, you guys know my approach. I love this. I do everything I possibly can to make this a wonderful experience. But again, that's long and gone. The future of what EM pharmacotherapy looks like is going to be with some of the people that you guys are going to hear from today. So without further ado, I want to welcome again the story of EMPoweRx. And I just want everyone to introduce themselves very briefly before we go into some of the questions we have today. We'll start with Rob.
How's it going? Thanks for having me on, Jimmy. It's awesome to be here today. Again, to talk a little bit about EMPoweRx 24, kind of what that looks like. For those of you who might not know me, I'm Rob O'Connell. I'm an emergency medicine clinical pharmacy coordinator in the South Bronx of New York. Happy to be here.
Tony.
Yeah, so I'm Tony Mixon. I'm an emergency medicine pharmacist in Northern Colorado. Official training was in infectious diseases, and regarding the EMPower conference, I'll be chairing the sponsorship committee.
Josh, head over to you.
Hey, my name is Josh Senn. I am an emergency medicine pharmacist here in Louisville, Kentucky at U of L Health. Kind of help serve as the residency program director for our program, but for EMPoweRx this year, chairing the CE committee.
Perfect. Last but not least.
Hi, everyone. My name is Louisa Sullivan, and I'm an overnight clinical emergency medicine pharmacist at Oregon Health and Sciences University Hospital in Portland, Oregon. And I'm serving as vice chair of the planning committee for EMPoweRx 24.
So super excited to have everyone here and really excited to hear more so you guys' component of this and kind of your story amongst all of these things. So I think one of the things I like to do is kind of take a step back. We're now going into our third year. It's going to be the first year that we're doing it completely, again, without anyone in person. So with all of that comes a lot more responsibility. But I want to kind of go back to the first experience. So if you guys can kind of take me through your first experience with EMPoweRx and kind of what that looked like. So we'll kind of start in the same order we did the introductions. Rob, tell us about your first experience.
Yeah, sure. So I would say by getting really into it, my first experience really dates back a little bit beyond that first conference in 2022. And things for me really got started in 2020, the height of COVID here in New York. Working as a solo ED pharmacist here, I really turned looking for a sense of community, and I turned to Twitter to try and find that in the EM world. And what I found was something I never would have expected, or much more than what I could have expected. I had people from across the country reaching out to me, helping me make drip sheets for meds when we ran out of pumps, and come up with ideas on how to get kind of brain to vein things happening in my department when drugs were short and we didn't know what was going on. During that time, me and Jimmy crossed paths, and I really got involved kind of a little bit more in his world and the online world and the podcast world, getting to do a podcast with him for Pharm So Hard, working a little bit on the PACU platform. And then hearing his vision for making a EM pharmacotherapy conference for us, by us, kind of our way, really was an awesome thing, I thought, for me. Coming from a background where I didn't do an EM, PGY2, didn't really know how I was going to connect with a lot of people across the country, not having a ton of connections in that way. this is really an awesome opportunity to kind of get involved, meet some people, see what was going on. That 2022 conference virtual was an awesome time to meet so many people. And I think before the conference was even done with the first day, the chat was going off asking for an in-person future. So to see that in 2023, meet so many people in person for the first time that we kind of connected over the internet with. And now to be here 2024, getting the opportunity to be a communications chair for the planning committee, really making this year even better. Is just an awesome opportunity and excited to be here.
That was the cool part, just being able to kind of see how all this goes. And my big vision, all of this was to make sure the people that was coming to it felt like they had an ownership within this. And that's really what this year is going to be a lot about taking all of this and saying, okay, this is ours. And who does us look like? It's going to be you guys. So I think that's going to be a thing. Me and Tony had kind of a different approach from how we've kind of got met, but I want to hear your first experience with EMPoweRx.
Yeah, Jimmy, I'd love to hear your take on this, being on the other side of it. But I was lucky enough to speak at the first EMPoweRx, and I remember seeing what was happening, what you were doing with the entire movement, thinking, absolutely, I want to be a part of this. This is the original pharmacotherapy conference in emergency medicine. So I was lucky enough to speak. I was supposed to speak on the first day, and I know no one's going to feel bad for me, but I was in Costa Rica, and I was in kind of a rural part. And I swear, all week I had been testing the internet. I was walking around like in the jungle with my phone to see the best, place for the internet to work. I had talked to the owners. We had everything set up. And then morning of, a fire on the OSA that I took out the internet. So I'm just freaking out, like I'm going to ruin the conference that I was most excited about, I think, in my entire life by not being able to speak. So I'm texting Jimmy, and like these texts are barely going through because I'm in the middle of the jungle, right? And I think the thing that sticks out to me from that whole aspect was just how calm and welcoming you were throughout the whole process. I expected you to be like, what the heck? You have ruined all of my hard work, Tony, and you guys shifted so well. And kind of bumped me to that second day to where I was not only able to present and actually, get to San Jose with better internet, but then I was actually able to watch the content, and I was just blown away by what I was seeing. And, I spent the entire last day of my vacation just watching everything from the day before, the day of, and being absolutely blown away. So I guess, the take home there is not only is this content stellar, and I couldn't imagine how good it was going to be that first year, and it's only gotten better with time, but it's good people doing this. And I think that says a lot about conferences that you don't necessarily see all the time.
Yeah, it was such a cool thing. And I remember going through that process, and we only, at that point, we was a 5-person committee, and all of us spoke that day. Like all of us were all speaking, was all part of the planning committee. And what it did was it forced us to do a few things. It first made us be able to say, okay, we can switch over easily, because like I just moved my presentation from the second day to the first day and moved some things around. But it also brought to me the sense of like what it means to be an emergency medicine pharmacist, the mindset. And it took away the location of being an emergency medicine pharmacist to the mindset, to where, okay, well, we got 5 other emergency medicine pharmacists. What do we do every single day? We adjust what happens in front of us. We try to make the best decision, and we try to stay calm. And I think for me, that was just I always think of opportunities for us to display our worth. And I wanted to kind of go through, and I remember that being a moment where I was like, okay, well, let's just figure out a way to do this. Let's move some things over and make sure our speakers feel supported. Because I think the biggest thing I want to do is make sure that this is going to be something that we all felt, again, empowered by, and that's why it's EMPoweRx. But it was really cool to kind of see that phenomenon and then go and you switch over. Then we look at all the feedback. The best presentation people like that year was Tony's. So it was like, it's only right that it just makes it to where we adjust and be able to make things happen. And it was so cool to kind of see that experience. And we've done that, and we've done some things for Pharm So Hard, and that led to, the cool part is that EMPoweRx first time led to the Pharm So Hard tour. And we stopped at different places, and we got to meet in person, and a ton of different things ended up happening from just all those in-person meets. And it was pretty cool, but then it just let me know that there's an appetite for us to do more stuff. So that was kind of a really cool aspect of all this. And yeah, I'm super excited to have you on board. All the things you're able to do and the expertise that you have, we all know the conference wouldn't be able to be what it is without you. So super excited to have you on. Josh.
Hey, yeah. So I've actually just jumped on board the last 2 years and kind of joined the conference virtually, but loved every single second of it. I was kind of in the same boat as Rob. I didn't do an EM PGY2. I kind of found myself after PGY1, helped start like a EM service line at a community hospital, did that for 4.5 years. And then now I'm back over at the bigger academic medical center and kind of helping out with the program now. But at that time, when I transitioned in my role, I was looking for like guidance and help and networking of, how do I do this? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I actually reached out to like 4 or 5 EM PGY2 RPDs across the country and set up meetings with them to kind of see, how do you do things and how do you do this and how do I work through this problem? Because I didn't have a lot of orientation and transition into my role. So that was kind of the first step in finding myself like really enjoying this networking, seeing how you do things and they do things. And then again, like Rob, the kids these days are all on Twitter. So I joined Twitter, really for like the medical literature updates. But what I found was like a really strong EM pharmacy community that I could connect with and, bounce ideas off of. And that's, I had the opportunity the last several years to be involved with our local, our state pharmacy organization to help with kind of the programming and planning of that. And, it's a good mix. It caters to every audience and pharmacy field and stuff like that. But what I was feeling was, I wanted more EM pharmacy stuff. And so, this was just like the perfect thing that checked all the boxes for me in terms of like, attendance of this, but being a part of, the first couple of years of helping to plan this and make it something great for the next 10, 20 years was really, really exciting. And on the back end of that too, from the, my residency program director position, our residents are always looking for conferences and opportunities to network and present research and this, that, the other. And a lot of these other, unfortunately, they have a fixed travel budget for the year, professional stipend. And, halfway through the year, half the time that's kind of exhausted. And so we were looking at opportunities for our 2 residents to present some research and, go to some of these professional conferences. And it's just looking at the price tag for some of these other ones. It's just not feasible financially. From there on, because they're on a resident salary. So this was like the perfect opportunity at the right time, checking all the boxes in multiple areas of my professional and personal life. So I'm super excited to see, what comes of this year and how we continue to grow over the next couple of years.
Absolutely. And that's kind of I love kind of hearing kind of that approach to it, because a lot of the mission of it, again, and why it's always been a for us and by us approach is because sometimes when you're working with a company and you feel like they just don't get it. And I know sometimes when I'm dealing with management or I'm dealing with certain things, it's like they just don't get us. And I want to make sure that as we built this and the kind of people who helped kind of get it started up, we always want to fight for EM pharmacists from student all the way through. And I think that was kind of the approach. And that's why pricing has always been something that people say, how do you even make money off of this? And it's like, well, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's something that doesn't happen. But at the same time, it's like, how do you kind of balance all of it to where people get great quality education and always feel like it's from a equity standpoint? And that's why we're doing things like the Pharm Grad Wish List scholarships. We're going to do some more scholarships as well to be able to provide people those opportunities without feeling the burden of the financial component of the $50,000 a year that they're getting stipend and then getting taxed on top of that. So it's tough, but I think the biggest thing we wanted to make sure, and you guys are all part of, and this is your conference, is making sure we kind of continue that mission when it comes to not just the pharmacists, but also the students, the residents, things of that nature. So that was kind of a huge one. I'm happy that was kind of the spark that kind of led to this, and the expertise that you have coming on board really going to help us out as we move forward. All right. Last but not least.
So I attended the first EMPoweRx conference virtually, just like everyone else, obviously, but I was also impressed with just the sense of community. Like everyone was chatting all day long and connecting with one another. And it was just really cool to see that come alive in a time that we were all kind of socially distanced, that we could build this community virtually. And then 2023, unfortunately, I couldn't make it in person, but we rented out a room locally here in Portland and invited all of the local EM pharmacists, not just from our hospital, but from other hospitals. and sat around drinking mimosas and having breakfast pastries and listening to the conference. So again, that theme of community, that chance to kind of network with people who are doing the same thing as us, but feel connected, feel like this is a conference for us and by us.
Perfect. And that's just what we wanted. And I think this year is going to be pretty cool to bring the mimosa theme to in person as well, to be able to do some of those things and be able just to interact. I think it's pretty cool to kind of hear everyone's first experience with all of this. And as I think back to the very first moment that I came across this, and I remember speaking to someone, years ago, it's like 2019, I was like, man, it would really be cool if we had like a space where we can just go into talk about EM pharmacy, and the explosion of things is different, and get people from when they first started, back in the 80s and 90s, and then people who's fresh out and kind of have this mix of people who are not the elites of it. Because I feel like sometimes we got to a point where when it came to pharmacy or just emergency medicine conferences, there were like 3 people speaking for all of EM pharmacy every single conference, and they were great. But I think the coolest part is like thinking like, what if there's a way for everyone to be involved? And that's where it led to this whole for us and by us approach, where everyone gets to be part of it. Everyone gets to have their name be part of this. And it really makes the community part of this. Really helped out quite a bit. So that was kind of like my first approach, just thinking like, man, I wish there was something we can do. And I remember texting someone, and I still have to text to this day, like, hey, I'm thinking about this new idea. Like, what do you think? And it just, from 2020, it just took off from there. And now we're to a point where our committees went from our committee sizes went from 4 or 5 people to 20 plus people, and the offerings we're able to take care of everything. So from the top down, everything part of this conference is going to be for us and by us, and welcoming everyone. So it's not necessarily just a pharmacist conference. This is a pharmacotherapy conference. So if you're a PA and you love the pharmaco of your career, cool, this is for you. If you're a nurse and you want to know a little bit more, this is for you. So I think this is the biggest thing. I want everyone to know that this is like definitely something that's for them, not necessarily something that's going to be just for pharmacists, but it's a place where we can all come. So I think that part is going to be great. All right. That was the first cool question. But the part that I think I'm like super excited, and I think everyone wants to kind of chat about, is like, what are you guys working on for EMPoweRx 24, and what are you excited about, and kind of how have this experience been preparing for the conference so far? Because again, I think this is all of our first time together working on this aspect of it, and I'm super excited to hear kind of like your approach. And for people who are interested in stuff like this, who may want to be part of committee next year or may want to be part of something like this, kind of hear you guys approach. Because again, we're all regular people doing this. We're not the BCCCP, FAPT, all those things. We're just regular people who gets the job done at work every day, and we just decided to make something our own. So really want to hear you guys kind of things you're excited about and some of the experiences you've had so far.
Yeah, so I'll get started here. Jimmy has been someone who's pushed me to kind of do more and do the next thing. I was not sure what I was going to do in the EM pharmacy world, if I wanted to be involved in a national committee, conference, podcast, you name it. And Jimmy's thrown those opportunities out there a few times to me, and allowed me to kind of take it head on and do with it what I want. And after the 2023 conference, I reached out to him and said like, hey, I'm interested in helping out. If you need it, I'm here, let me know. And the opportunity came around, and he asked me to kind of head the communications committee side of things. And it's been an awesome experience. I have a great team that Jimmy helped put together, and I have to give a special shout out to my wife, who is not a pharmacist, but she is a communications professional, and it's been eye-opening to work alongside her in a professional manner. I get to see all the work that she does on her end, and she knows kind of about us and what we're about. And she's opened, I think, my eyes and a lot of our eyes to kind of what the communication side of things is. And being able to take kind of this on and work with the EMPoweRx committee, the chairs, everyone involved to kind of grow the conference, and just be able to talk about it and get the word out there to those who might not have been able to join us the last 2 years, don't really know quite yet what this conference looks like and why to be a part of it. It's been an awesome experience to kind of see everyone's enthusiasm for both obviously the pharmacotherapy side of things, the emergency medicine side of things, but also the opportunity to kind of learn new things as far as communications goes, and how we help spread the word, and bring those people in, like Jimmy was saying, that go beyond just our smaller bucket of EM pharmacists out there, but really to expand it to kind of anyone interested in learning more about pharmacotherapy and kind of the role that we all have in our patient care. It's really been a pleasure to be here and working on the conference this year.
Cool beans, man. It's been great to have you guys on board. I remember having the first meeting, you was like, oh no. And I was like, dude, I know you can do it. And then it's like, for me not even know that your wife is like, Tessa does still, she does. And I was like, well, you guys are a package deal. So, and that's the great part for me, like being able to kind of be the admin, quote unquote, of all this. Is like certain stuff like that probably wouldn't fly in other organizations, but it's like when it's literally, it's our organization, it's our conference. That's another cool aspect that I just really get to enjoy to be part of. And I think for me, it's like if I get to work with my wife on certain things like that, that kind of stuff is great, but it kind of helps you appreciate different aspects that you didn't necessarily know about, especially when it's not pharmacy related. Like my wife's a pharmacist, so it's different. But it's like when it's completely different, I think that was one of the coolest thing, and being able to meet with you guys. Like I think that was really, 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 really cool. So we appreciate having you guys on. So for you guys who don't know, any email, any social media post, anything, if it looks nice, sometimes I get impatient and I'll personally, but if it looks nice, that's completely with Rob and Tessa. So you guys gotta throw a big shout out to them. And we just appreciate having you and the whole team, Brittany, Caitlin, Tanya, Brandon, all those guys who are part of the committee. I just appreciate everyone's their role of it, because I don't think people realize how much goes into just getting a couple posts out a month, like just all of the aspects and the logistics that go into that. So super excited to have you guys on board. And Tony.
Yeah, so a big change coming in Empower this year that I'm really excited about is being able to give our attendees the opportunities to interact and build relationships with our exhibitors in a way that I don't think is available anywhere else, in certainly not pharmacist conference and definitely not pharmacotherapy conferences that I've been to. So we'll have some really great folks there. Some of note are like Pharmacy Pearls, your financial pharmacist, and of course we're going to have some industry supporters. And forging those relationships with those individuals has been really helpful in my career. They're a wealth of knowledge, and they've helped me take care of patients in the past. And I really can't wait to provide a forum that promotes engagement and conversation with those individuals at the conference. So something I'm really excited about. I think it's going to be kind of new for everyone. And it's going to, bring up the energy in a conference that's already extremely high energy. And then from kind of the second standpoint, how has it been doing this? It's been fantastic. I would give a lot of love to our board. This board is amazing. Everyone's kind of got a unique aspect and has worked so hard to make this conference what it's going to be. I'm just excited to be there with everyone.
Yep. And Tony's been a all-star kind of making some of these things happen. He's one of the first people that I brought on board, because again, one thing that I got to notice very clearly, and my accountant let me know last year very, very clearly, is that when it comes to doing these type of conferences, there are certain things you have to make sure are in line. When it comes to making sure we can provide the experience that people want. With that, it's going to be, how do we interact with different people? And I noticed that some of your MSLs, some of your people that's in the industry space, they love their job, they love what they do, they have all this information, and I think we didn't necessarily utilize them in the sense that I thought that we probably could have. And the support to be able to provide a venue that's nice, provide the education, the continued education credits, all these things, and the support that goes back and forth with industry is such a symbiotic relationship. But I always thought that like I was taught to have this like, oh, if it's industry, kind of push away, and now kind of seeing from this side of it, it's like, that's not necessarily true. And I think making sure you create an environment where the stuff that you want comes in, the stuff that you don't want stays out. And I think we've done a really good job of being able to kind of cross that line to be able to bring good people in and a variety of people in. Again, like Derek with Pearls, Tim, and all the Tims at your financial pharmacy. It's like 3 Tims that's there. And be able to bring people in who have their own products that are related to what we want to, and just provide us a different environment. reached out to different podcasts, and just making it to where when it comes to our exhibitors, when it comes to all those things, there's something there that you want to communicate with. So Tony's been phenomenal getting those people in the door and making sure we're all using the right terminology, all the right things to make sure we have good people coming in, good products coming in, and for us to be able to have a good relationship. So I think that's going to be great, and being able to kind of build that culture is going to definitely take off what we can do. So we're all super excited to have Tony on board to kind of take care of a lot of these sponsors and vendors, things of that nature. And it's been an all-star with us. And again, something that I always tell people, like, yeah, if Tony's talking to him, everything's taken care of. So it's been great to have him. Josh, we're kind of in the thick of it now.
Yeah. So Jimmy and I have kind of been working last couple weeks on navigating all of our options for CE providers and partnerships, and finalizing those, but like also looking at what feedback have they gotten from conference attendees in the past, and then their experience working in the committee and pursuing this and that over the last couple of years, and just seeing that come to fruition. What did people want? What did types of programming and types of interaction do they want? So working within the boundaries of official ACPE CE credit. How can we make that happen? How can we get really creative with some of the sessions that we're doing and make it more interactive and discussion and kind of network and sharing ideas while maintaining that accreditation status. It's really just kind of like you said in the beginning, we're emergency medicine pharmacists. We kind of pivot day to day, and we make it work. We make it happen with the resources that we have to accomplish whatever goals in front of us. So it's been exciting. I am not a public speaker by any stretch of the imagination. I will do topic discussions one-on-one, every day of the week, but ask me to do a public speaking engagement, and you're going to need some propranolol for me. So with that, I like the behind the scenes stuff, the kind of planning. And so this was kind of right up my alley, and what for every conference, what needs to happen to make sure things run smoothly and we get all our I's dotted and T's crossed. So
it's been a very cool experience. And then just all the networking, I think the biggest thing for me is being able to, okay, we have this idea, but how do we actually make these things happen? And how we make it happen in the eyes of ACPE, because that's what really matters. And then people want to get their credit. And a lot of phenomenal things has kind of come out of this when I've been able to kind of segment all of these things. We had a question the other day. It's like, oh, is this credit approved for BCEMP? And I'm like, no, but how does that happen? What do we think about? It's all these different components that make me kind of reconsider things, and having people that are experts that have a passion to do all of this really allows the conference to move forward in a way that's very unique, and everyone have their own piece. And the biggest aspect of this year that I feel so great about is the conference really having a personality and a soul of its own. That's been the biggest part of why it's keeping this together. There was talks about, prior to moving it into this year, of disbanding what EMPower is, of it going away and joining something else. But I think the biggest part of this was EMPower being able to have its own soul. And I think that's been something that's been really unique for each aspect of the conference, to have its own personality and have its own setup. I think the biggest hurdle, for everyone, was getting used to ClickUp, our productivity manager, and the ups and downs of that. But it's cool that I look at, from my perspective, I'll be able to look at each committee and see its own world, in a sense, all the things that's happened within there, all the people that, as part of that committee, communicating, all the documents and things that are getting taken care of, and all the communication. So I think the CE part of it really is one of those things where it's like the seatbelt of the conference, because you have to make sure everything's in line before it all gets thrown out, because everyone wants CE. And we have to do it the right way. So I've been super fortunate to have Josh to be able to not only leverage his background in using this, but all some of the relationships as well. And again, just adding another personality, another soul of what this conference is. So been super excited to have him on board as well. And the cool part is now being able to shift from the programming committee group that's actually, designing and sending out invitations, to shifting that to say, okay, now that we have this, how do we do it right? So when people get done with the conference the day of, they know that, okay, this is the CE for it. This is the code that everyone's looking for. All those little things that people don't think about is 40 to maybe 100 plus hours of work to make it happen. And when it comes to CE, Josh is that person. So super excited. All right, Louisa, tell us again. You have a big role, and it is you are the person who again I communicate with weekly. But tell them kind of your approach because you have a really big role amongst this conference.
Thanks so much. Yeah. So as the vice chair, I'm kind of helping Jimmy, you to translate your vision into reality. So I'm working with each of the individual chairs and just trying to help make sure that we're really on task and meeting all of our deadlines and able to kind of bring all of these big ideas to life. And I think the big thing about this conference is, our theme for the year is bold and rebellious, and we're trying to be innovative. EMPoweRx has always been innovative, and figuring out the ways to translate these big ideas into reality is really exciting. And I think the thing that really gives it the soul and the heart that we've been talking about is also trying to be inclusive. So being inclusive by, making the price affordable and finding ways to still have amazing quality while bringing this to everyone at a low price is just really cool to be involved in, really cool to work with all of these people who are so passionate about what they do and so passionate about making this really a great experience for everyone.
Yeah, it's been great. I think we chat every week, it's like trying to take one thing. And I think anyone who's ever worked with me or if you ever been around me, everyone knows that like I'm the vision person. Like I can see certain things and like I have these big things that I'm like, but let me figure out how to like source this in a way. And Louisa's kind of like, it's my person. It's like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to do all these crazy things. And then like, all right, well, that's cool. Let's kind of put this into objectives. Let's meet these different people. Let's see kind of their approach and make those things happen. And I realized that like the conference is so much better because of her. The conference and everything that we do, again, is so much better. And again, it has a soul due to this is not like, I think people will interview me and stuff like that. Like, oh, this is Jimmy's conference. This is not Jimmy's conference. And I think this year really, really proves that this conference is everyone's. And if it's anyone, it's Louisa's conference because she's the one who's actually taking all the pieces together, putting them together to do these things. So I think that is like the coolest part, being able to say, okay, this is what the vision was, but realistically, how does this translate to the everyday person? And everyone on our committee, every single one is an everyday person. And that's been the coolest part, to be part of this and then have it to where everyone that's part of this, who's leading different aspects, is the person that's at the bedside. So being able to kind of translate some of those skills has been really, really, really cool. So I'm super excited. And we have a few people that's, again, literally saving lives right now. So they couldn't be with us on this particular episode, but they'll be with us on the next one. But it's pretty cool to kind of have every single person that's part of this have their own soul. And that's a nice kind of segue into the theme of the year. And Lisa, I'll let you kind of take this part because again, we kind of talked a little bit about this. So you can kind of lead each person into, their approach with it. But I really want to get to like question 3 to talk about that.
Thanks, Jimmy. So the theme for this year, as I kind of already spilled, is bold and rebellious. So really, this means something different to everyone. We've all had our own path to get where we are right now. But I think being a part of the planning committee, we really took this to heart to say that we want to make a conference that's not like every conference you've been to before. We want to create a unique experience where people feel comfortable coming in their pajamas or coming in their scrubs or coming with a drink in hand and just enjoying each other's company, enjoying the content that we're going to have available, but just not feeling that need to put that professional wall up and appear a certain way like you're expected to appear, and instead just come and enjoy and be yourself and bring your individuality to this awesome conference that we're building. So with that, I guess I'll open it up. Rob, do you want to tell us a little bit about what the theme means to you and what you're thinking about it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think we kind of touched upon this. I think a lot of us through our early careers, even into our more seasoned years, we have a sense of what other conferences kind of do, what they look like, the high stress of things like mid-year, the formality that comes with some of that, this is how you network with somebody, this is how you introduce yourself. This is how you present your CV to somebody. It could be a lot. I think we in emergency medicine, speaking globally, tend to have a little bit of a different personality type to deal with the craziness and the environments that we do at work every day. And I think that translates into kind of how we approach meeting people, talking to people, uh, handling stressful situations. And what I really found at Empower last year, being able to be in person, was really that I'm not the only one that thinks that way, and that we really have an opportunity to kind of come together in a very casual environment, yet still extremely educational, learning from each other together, as opposed to kind of learning down from somebody that's kind of the all-knowing person that some of these larger conferences, I think, can feel like at times. Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't do an PGY2 residency. I was an AmCare person that had a love for emergency medicine, and the kind of unique nature of the department, seeing everything, seeing the transitions of care, viewing things kind of in that standpoint. So the first time going to a larger conference, meeting some EM people, I didn't know kind of how to break kind of that wall, not having co-PGY2 residents, meeting those EM people at these larger conferences in the past. And then coming to Empower, meeting people at community hospitals, meeting people at academic hospitals, meeting people that haven't done any residency, meeting people that did multiple years of residency, that did fellowship, that have done academia, like kind of coming together and realizing that we're all dealing with the same kind of problems and issues and challenges at our own sites, working together to kind of translate different ideas into practice. I'll say I met an awesome group of people at EMPoweRx last year. They are now, I consider, very close friends. We talk every day, whether it's about our personal lives, our work lives, just what we like to do on the weekends. And it's just been awesome to like find that group of people in that community, across the country, different time zones, different work schedules, getting text messages at 3 a.m. about someone kind of out doing something non-EM related, but in a different time zone for me, waking up to group text in the morning. Like, it's just been awesome to kind of find this group of people. And I can't wait to see these next steps this year, bigger and better than ever, bringing in even more diverse minds, like you said, professionally, physicians, PAs, NPs, EMTs, all the sorts. I can't wait to further expand kind of that group of people and do it our way.
I guess I could take over next year. Bold and rebellious is a really interesting and appropriate theme. To me, it means that this conference is unique in that we can do and we have the freedom to do what we want, and we can do it how we want. So that allows us to take risks and create a pharmacotherapy conference as we see fit, which is a really nice, level of freedom that we have. You see those things in the atmosphere being a lot more laid back, in the topics that are really well tailored to what we see every single day, and in the fun that we're having. And you sure to see it in the cost of the conference, which every time I look at it, I'm bewildered. But Empower really functions on this concept that things don't need to be uptight to result in kind of effective education. And I think that goes back to the fact that we can do what we want, how we want. This very much takes on the personality of emergency medicine folks. So that's our physicians, our PAs, our pharmacists, everyone involved in it. We do have this unique personality, as Rob kind of alluded to, and our conference is alive because of that. And you see it in everything that we do. So the fact is, you couldn't really have a conference like this if you weren't bold and rebellious. So it's very fitting, especially in this year where Empower is really taking that for us, by us concept to the next level.
Absolutely. And it's been cool to kind of be part of all this, and just everything we do is bold. We can say what we want to, we can do what we want to, because again, if you guys want it, we're going to be able to do it. So I think that's been an aspect that's been pretty unique about all of this. Like we were sitting today, it's like, when do we bring the mimosas in? And it's like, this would never fly in other conversations I've had. And it's like more of a when versus a if kind of thing. Like no one's sitting here thinking like, oh, what I want to wear and stuff like that. It's like, I have to take my suit to the dry cleaner. It's like, I'm point and laugh at you if you bring your suit and you didn't want to. Like, you feel comfortable in your suit, please bring it. But it's like, the biggest thing is like rebellion from all the other things, and rebelling from, being able to think the way we want to. So I think that's been a big part for, at least for me. Josh, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, at least, and I keep referencing kind of residency program training, but like I'm thinking about like our, training, the most effective way to teach them and interact with them and sustain like these good like networking and teaching opportunities among ourselves. And, what we've done here in our local Southern Indiana, Louisville area is gotten all the EM pharmacists together, and we'll do journal clubs at a brewery, and, we'll do trauma topic discussions and teaching like throwing axes, stuff like that. So to me, this is perfectly in line with like kind of what we've been doing and what I've found is effective, but also like what we enjoy doing. And it takes everyone's right. It takes a special personality to work in the emergency department. So I think the fun approachability and networking opportunities with each other, navigating away from the historical and traditional, I guess, stiffness of professional interaction is something that's fun and exciting to me, at least.
Yeah, that's the cool part. Again, I think the bold and rebellious is rebelling from anything. A decision had to be made, in September, whether we was going to shut this thing down or we're going to be by ourselves when it came to some of the partners we had in the past. And I think being able to kind of rebel from the idea that the work was for us to be real. We had to join someone else. For us to be real, we had to be a certain way. And I think that's the coolest part from us being able to be real, do it our way, and continue to grow this thing to be something that's so unique, and to do it in a way that, we're going to double down. We're going to do 2 days. We're going to do it by ourselves. We're going to do it in beautiful Charlotte. We're going to have people who's going to come and do things the way they want to, and we don't have to answer anybody. That's been the coolest part of the theme from my standpoint. And the people that we have part of the committee all embody that in their own way. I would say I probably didn't do much at all for this conference, but the one thing I did do is try to find people that embodied the soul of what the conference is. And I think that in itself was the coolest part of all of this. But let's transition into kind of the second to last question that I have, and about like a wish list. And I think Louisa had to deal with my endless wish list that I wanted to do for this conference, that, things that we may not be able to do this year. We got a lot of things done this year, and I'm super excited about. But as we kind of think about this, because this is you guys' conference, if you had a wish list of items to do that we may not do this year, but can do in the future, what would that be? And Louisa, we can start with you, since you had to hear like get a fire hose worth of me thinking all these random things. We can do it in the moon next year.
I mean, I think it's been amazing to see the ideas that have been discussed. And I think the one that probably isn't going to happen this year, but I really, really would like to see in future years is the clinical skills competition. I think that would be really a fun way of, kind of increasing this camaraderie and chance to like really dive into what people know and find new ways of talking about it and learning about it. And just kind of, having a little healthy competition is always fun too. So I'd like to see that happen next year.
Yeah, I was super excited. Again, we tried to recruit for it this year. Unfortunately, I think just either due to the wording or just due to the nature of just the timing of when this was done, I think as we move the conference date around, things would be a little easier. But that was one thing I was like, man, I really wish when I was a resident that I can like just go and just show my knowledge, whether I was a PGY 1, whether I was a PGY 2, whether I didn't do a residency at all, but I'm like a year or two out, and I wanted to kind of see where I fit. That was something that I really wish that we could really see and get a reward for it. Come to the conference for free and all those things. So something we're really going to push tremendously next year, and then see what you guys all think. So I think that's been the biggest part of all of this. So that's one thing I really wish as well. Tony, what's your thoughts?
So I guess I'd just start with the conference is always going to continue and grow and evolve every year. Being for us, by us means that we get to take attendee feedback, some information from the board and from our faculty and really incorporate it to help improve the conference every year. I think one thing I personally want to see progress over the year is continuing to value our faculty in ways that other conferences either can't or just won't. There are conferences that I've been to or I've spoken at, and I've been required to pay an exorbitant registration fee and then put in the work to develop and give a very high quality talk. And it just doesn't sit right with me. So I think, as we continue to grow, my goal would be to really show our faculty their worth and to treat them accordingly in hopes that we can really advance the profession in a lasting way.
Yeah, and that's one thing we've kind of started the approach on this year. We've just sent out all of our contracts for our speakers and people's going to be part of it and providing something. I think that's been one of the things that we want to focus on, and I think we all want to do more of. And I think that's been the biggest part is that, okay, you can be part of this conference. You're going to be given part of your personality, the benefit to this. What can we do for you? So not just having the registration reimbursement where you pay for it first, then we reimburse you for it. Like, no, let's get you here, whatever it takes. We're going to make sure you get taken care of from that perspective and give a little bit more. And I think that's been something that we want to do. And it's like the amount that we can do it and then see, well, some people may not necessarily, care as much about that. But then we made it to where we can provide another avenue to give. And one thing I want to do this year is make sure you find a way. So we said, hey, you can take this, travel stipend or whatever you want to do, or you can donate that to the Pharm Grad wish list. Or if you want a different one that's more close to your heart, we can donate to that charity as well. So it's been really cool to kind of be part of this, to kind of change, rebel from the traditional way of taking care of speakers. Whether that's going to be just making sure, hey, you don't have to register. We also providing people a +1. So I know I went and spoke somewhere, my wife wanted to come. It's like, oh, well, only you can come. You can't have anyone else there. It's like, no, that's we want to kind of figure out a way, how can we change this? And I think the first step of this and how can we do it more? There's a ton that we can do more. And I think we're working it, especially Tony, kind of the part that he's working on is finding a way for us to be able to do that in a more extravagant way. And that's going to be really, really cool to kind of see start this year. But I think, as you mentioned, next year is going to be insane. I think we're going to kind of set the market for what it is to be a speaker at a pharmacotherapy conference. So super excited about that. Rob.
Yeah. Wish list. This is like always a tough question. What do you want to see more of? What do you want to see different? I'm really excited for us to release kind of the programming for this year. I think people are gonna see a big change from the last 2 years. We are gonna break things up even more. It's not gonna be as lecture focused. The kind of uniqueness of the different presentations over a 2-day period this time. Really get people up out of their seats, mingling with each other, kind of working alongside each other during the conference. I think is going to be a big kind of plus for this year in Charlotte. And I want to see that continue to grow going into next year, like Louisa mentioned, a clinical skills competition, kind of additional hands-on things. I think we're all people who like to be hands-on in what we do and learn best when we kind of get down into the nitty-gritty and get to do that side of things. So maybe some further simulation side of things, maybe get kind of creative on that standpoint. There's definitely a lot of opportunity. I'm also really excited for this year to get more residents and students involved.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be awesome to have them there and really show them what EM practice looks like. I can tell you when I was a student, I didn't even know that EM pharmacotherapy world was really even a thing, and definitely not what it looked like, and definitely not kind of I couldn't imagine back then doing what I do now in practice. So getting kind of that side of kind of practice into people's minds, kind of as their careers are just starting to develop and maybe take shape, is going to be really awesome. And I can't wait for the continued growth from a young practitioner side. of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's gonna be the cool point. I think again, and the people in this committee has like again we've started to work on some of these things and getting it there. Like for example, the schools that are within driving distance of this, we've reached out to all of them and said, hey, bring your students here. Don't worry about cost. Don't worry about this. Just get your students here if they want to, and just being able to provide them with that and the freedom, the boldness, the rebellion from tradition to be able to do those type of things. And one thing that the program committee did a phenomenal job of doing, just from a planning perspective. Usually what happens when you're a resident or a student and you're presenting something, you're separated from everyone. You're kind of put to a side, you're in a different room. And if you're doing a poster, you get put to the side and you may have a few people walk over and you're like, okay, I've bust my tail for this, versus like being part of it, immersed in this. So like our residents that are presenting, there's no difference in how we plan your presentation as we do the keynote speaker. There's no difference in how you're structured in there. So again, we're all part of the same team, just like we are at the bedside. Whatever your title is, no matter how many letters you have after your name, you're gonna have the same kind of attention, the same position within there. So that's been the really cool part that the program committee's done a good job of saying, hey, this is where our residents are going to speak here. This is their presentation. Next is going to be this particular debate. Next is going to be this. And it's like all part of this one, versus we have resident presentations over here and we're going to put the other ones over in a different room. We're not going to do that. We're going to rebel from that. And everyone is going to submit their stuff. They're going to have the same opportunity to get their information out there as everyone else. So, and we're going to give them awards as well for those who do well. So super excited about that component, but again, so much room for growth and so much more. I want to see a lot more different types of residents, fellows, again, from in the APP world, from everyone else. Again, there's tons of opportunities that we're really looking forward to expanding a good bit. All right, Josh, what's your wish list?
A smooth conference and everything was accredited appropriately. No, kind of just every year's a growing year for, whatever you're doing. Just kind of learn from this year and apply that to next year to make, whatever we want, a smoother transition for this, that, and kind of learn and grow. But I think I had talked a couple months ago to both you and Jimmy and Louisa about the, opportunities for like more hands-on learning. And Rob kind of alluded to it too. But, we're very hands-on people. It's hard for us to sit in a basement behind a computer all day. We're very hands-on. We're mixing meds. We're administering meds in some instances. But, how do we build upon that with other clinical skills, just basic EKG and chest x-ray, CT, CTA interpretations, walking through trauma skills and trauma resuscitation scenarios, which I think would be immensely beneficial for, people who never had that formal training, but also who might not see that in their everyday practice at the community settings, but the concepts are all the same. That patient one day may roll through your door. So how best can we, give you the tools and confidence and some training experience to help, manage that for future patients. So to me, I enjoy the hands-on stuff as opposed to kind of just sitting listening to a lecture. You get more out of it. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to, incorporating some of those elements this year and then seeing how we can grow that for the next year.
Yeah, and it's only fitting that you're going to be working with me part of the simulation component of it that we're going to do in person. Again, a small amount, and anyone who's did simulation training, especially multidisciplinary simulation training, how valuable that can be, because again, that's what we're doing at the bedside. It's going to be so much. It's so like, I really wish that I could do like a week worth of this and just have trainings all through the day. We may get there, again, the continued support from the EM community will help us get there, but it's going to be really cool because we have speakers that are going to be PAs, we have speakers that are going to be physicians, and you can get nurses involved. So I think the speaker part is going to be there, but I think the next step where we're really going to take and be really rebellious, it's like, okay, we got a IV start kit sitting somewhere. Like, what does that mean? We're never going to do it, but how cool would it be to be able to say, hey, I went there and I learned something like that? Or EKGs and CTs. And, I was part of an ultrasound guided anesthesia program when I was at MUSC. It's like, how much can we be part of that at the bedside? And some of this, again, just medication administration. A lot of us are doing it. Again, a lot of us kind of go through this. Do we have as much formal training? What if we can go through and build a certificate course that we can do some pre-work beforehand, do the skills on, check off with our nursing staff, and that's how you get credentialed. So I think there's a host of pretty cool things we're going to be able to do. I have a method I'm going to release probably at the conference of how that's going to take place and what society is going to accredit something like that. But we will get there when that time comes. All right, guys, I don't want to hold you for too much longer. Last easy question. For you guys going to be all coming down, what are you most looking forward to doing in Charlotte in April?
All right. Well, Rob kind of stole my answer in that I was really excited for, how involved the residents and the students are going to be this year. Residents getting to do their presentations in between our other presentations for the day and not be somewhere separate is awesome. But given that we've already talked about that, I will say that I'm really excited for our social night on Friday night. I was not able to attend in person last year, but I heard that it was a really fun hangout in Austin. And so we're trying to find something as fun and as exciting. And I think we're pretty close to accomplishing that. So I think Friday night is going to be a blast. And I hope everyone who attends the conference will come and hang out with us afterward and really, continue that networking into the evening.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I'll definitely ditto that with Louisa. I remember getting to the conference last year on the first night, hearing some people meeting up at a bar, getting there, and everyone was already kind of talking, chatting. I figured everyone knew everybody already, and I was just going to have to meet everyone on the spot. Come to find out that no one had ever even met in person before, and they were all just hanging out like they'd been together for 10 years. So really getting the opportunity to see some familiar faces, meet a lot of new faces, and just get to enjoy the weekend kind of together is gonna be awesome. Can't wait.
Tony.
I'll go ahead and join in. It's a pretty similar answer. It's going to be interacting with everybody that's there, all the attendees from me. So we all know the lectures, and lectures are going to be money, right? The agenda should be released pretty soon. And every time I look at it, I get more excited to hop on that plane and get out to Charlotte. I know I'll also kind of undoubtedly be walking away with a big chunk of CE, which is nice. But I think, the thing at the top of my list is just having a beer and making new friends. We keep saying this, we're a unique bunch. I don't want to use the word weird, but if we do something that's atypical, and it takes atypical people to do that frequently. You hear the term like grew up in a high cortisol household, and it seems to hold true, to a fair percentage of people that I meet. So it's just going to be nice to kick back, learn something, and have a few drinks with people who are like me and make some new friends.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off everyone else's answer, I mean, it's really excited for me to kind of actually attend the conference. We have a coming up on a 1-year-old, and so I've been unable in the last year and a half to really attend any conference. But to kind of attend and meet everyone for the first time in person, and just make new connections that will stay with me for years to come.
So that's gonna be great. I'm super excited that everyone's been able to kind of come on and kind of share their approach of all of this. We will be hearing from a few more of our people that's literally saving lives as we speak right now. But the overall kind of component that I want to get from each of the people that's gonna be part of this committee is like, what's their background? Let people see that these are regular people. These are the people who are you. They're you. They represent who you are. The coolest part about having this committee and the size of it and the diversity of it, again, it's as diverse as you can possibly be. There's someone from every time zone, from California all the way to New York. There's people we have people that's kind of being in Salt Lake City to Texas to Florida, everywhere. So we're just super excited to be able to have everyone from each time zone, each personality type, and all the faces of EM. So I think when you're making something, and we always talk about things like DEI, we always talk about these other components. When we're making something, we want to make sure that literally everyone, not exclude someone, everyone is part of the actual production. And I think when you do that, you really get to have something that's special on your own accord. So like the coolest part for me, the thing I'm most forward looking to is all the impromptu conversations that happen, all of the random things we found. Like, hey, you do this too. All of the places that we're able to go that's not part of the script. Like, oh, what are we going to do Saturday night? We literally got Carowinds, our theme park, that is less than 10 minutes away. Who's going to say, oh, I'm going to go on a roller coaster? All the random stuff that we'll be able to do because we made it this way. The the personality of the conference being able to kind of display itself and without any limitations, and to be as bold as you want to and be as rebellious as you want to, is going to be the coolest part of all of this. And I'm so fortunate to be able to work with so many amazing people, and for them to put the work they put into making something special. And I think all you guys will be able to see that on April 26th and 27th. If you haven't got your in-person tickets yet, you're crazy. If you can come, please come. If you can't, visit us on our website, EMPoweRx/conference.com, to get your virtual access. Again, I feel very comfortable with our pricing. If you find a 2-day conference that is solely focused on emergency medicine pharmacotherapy and it's cheaper than us, please let me know. If it's half, let me know. But I'm excited about that component. Any closing words for you guys as we wrap up this particular episode on the story of EMPoweRx?
I feel like we're only on chapter 3 or 4. We have like a whole novel series to write. So.
Yeah, more excited now than ever to see everyone in Charlotte in just a few months.
I just want to thank you, Jimmy, for all of your leadership in getting this started, because we definitely wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Empower is a conference that was built to be different for a group of different people, and this year is only going to be the best version of that.
Yeah, that is how you close that episode right there. So guys, again, thank everyone for coming on. The audience, thank you guys for listening. As you guys go through, and if there's any issues or anything that you are looking forward to, if there's something that you think will be great to be part of this conference, this is your conference. This is not mine. This is all of our conference. So depending on what you want and how crazy of a request it is, we can try to make it happen, or we put it on the wish list. But the coolest part of this is that everyone who's coming here, you have like part of this ownership of the conference and of the soul of what this means. So super excited for this. It's going to be a phenomenal time. And I'm going to close the episode the way I close out every single episode we've done on this. You don't have to be a pharmacist. You don't have to work in the ED. But everything you do, make sure you farm so hard.
Closes it. Ozzy scratches his head. Whatever she's looking for, it isn't in there.
Perfect.